The coordinates were never meant for him. Vader's TIE Advance drifted through the crimson storms of the unknown regions, following a signal his meditation had revealed. For years, he'd sensed something hidden, something the Emperor kept locked away. Then he saw it. Exegol, a world of black stone and lightning. Ancient, powerful, forbidden. Vader descended alone, his suit hissing against the toxic atmosphere. The surface was littered with Sith statues, twisted monuments to the dark side's long history. But he wasn't here for statues. He was here for the machines. Deep within the largest temple, past rows of clone vats and resurrection chambers, Vader found it, a medical apparatus unlike anything in the Empire's arsenal. Sith hieroglyphs covered its surface. The technology predated the Rule of Two, perhaps even the Old Republic itself. His breathing echoed in the chamber as he accessed the ancient databanks. Cellular regeneration. Complete physical restoration. The healing of wounds thought permanent. His mechanical hand trembled. For 23 years, he'd lived in agony. Burns that never healed. Lungs that never worked. A body that was more machine than man. The suit was his prison, and his master had been the warden. Palpatine had lied to him. This technology existed all along. The Emperor could have restored him at any time, but keeping Vader weak, broken, and dependent was more useful. More controllable. Rage flooded through the Dark Lord like molten lava. The machine hummed, waiting. Vader stared at his reflection in the dark metal, a masked monster half alive. Not anymore. He stepped forward and activated the sequence. The regeneration process began, and with it, rebellion. The pain was absolute. Vader floated in the regeneration pod, encased in blood-red bacta and crackling Sith alchemy. Needles pierced his flesh, injecting nanomachines that rewrote his cellular structure. His screams filled the chamber, raw, animal sounds no one would hear. This was worse than Mustafar. Worse than burning alive. Because this time, he was conscious through every second. The machine worked methodically, stripping away scar tissue layer by layer. His lungs, shriveled, blackened husks, began to regenerate. New tissue grew, where there had been only cybernetics and ruin. Bones that had been shattered and fused incorrectly were broken again, then healed properly. Days blurred together. Vader lost track of time. Pain became his entire existence. The dark side sustained him, feeding on his suffering, growing stronger with every agonizing moment. But he could not let the Emperor sense this. Through sheer willpower, Vader masked his presence in the Force. He became a void, a shadow, invisible even to Palpatine's prying awareness. It drained him almost as much as the regeneration itself. On the 5th day, his lungs took their first real breath in over 2 decades. The sensation was incredible. Air, actual air, filled his chest without the suit's mechanical hiss. He gasped, overwhelmed by something so simple, something he'd forgotten. On the 10th day, skin began covering the exposed muscle of his face. Smooth, unscarred, young. The machine was rebuilding him as he'd been before the fall. Before Mustafar. Before the suit. Before Vader. But the dark side still coursed through him, stronger now, unfiltered by damaged flesh. He wasn't becoming Anakin Skywalker again. He was becoming something worse. Something the galaxy had never seen. As the final phase began, one thought consumed him. Palpatine would pay for every year of suffering. The rebirth was almost complete, and the Dark Lord's true revenge was about to begin. Palpatine's eyes snapped open in his meditation chamber. Something was wrong. For 11 days, Vader's presence in the Force had been absent. Not dead, Palpatine would have felt that. No, this was different. This was deliberate concealment. Only one thing required such effort. Betrayal. The Emperor's withered hands clenched. "Where is Lord Vader?" he hissed to the hologram of Admiral Piett. "Unknown, my lord." His last transmission came from the unknown regions. He claimed to be investigating a disturbance, Exegol. The word hung in the air like poison. Palpatine's secret world. His contingency. His pathway to immortality. And now, his greatest weapon had found it. Worse, Vader had found the regeneration chambers. The Emperor laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. Of course. Vader's obsession with restoring Padme had always made him search for life-extending technologies. It was only a matter of time before his apprentice stumbled upon the Sith's darkest secrets. But a restored Vader was a threat Palpatine couldn't allow. The suit kept him weak, kept him in pain, kept him obedient. A fully healed Anakin Skywalker with the dark side's full power? That was a rival, not a servant. Dispatch the executor, Palpatine commanded, and summon the royal guard. I want Exegol sterilized. My lord, if Lord Vader is there. Especially if Lord Vader is there. The Emperor rose, lightning crackling between his fingertips. He'd created Vader, shaped him, owned him, and now he would end him. Within hours, an Imperial fleet tore through hyperspace toward Exegol. Star destroyers, TIE squadrons, the Emperor's personal shuttle, surrounded by his crimson-robed guards. Palpatine stared into the swirling blue tunnel of hyperspace. You are my greatest creation, Vader, he whispered. But even the dark side cannot save you from me. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace above the storm-racked world, and the hunt began. The chamber doors exploded outward. Vader stepped through the smoke, but he was Vader no longer. Gone was the black armor, the mask, the mechanical breathing. In their place stood a man in his prime, tall, broad-shouldered, with golden hair and eyes burning yellow with Sith fury. Anakin Skywalker, reborn in darkness. He flexed his hands, real hands, flesh and bone, and felt power surge through every fiber. The Force flooded into him without the suit's limitations, without damaged lungs restricting his connection. He was complete, and he was unstoppable. The temple shook as Imperial dropships landed outside. Stormtroopers poured through ancient corridors, their boots echoing on stone that had seen empires rise and fall. Vader, this new terrible Vader, smiled. They came for him in waves. Stormtroopers first, their blasters blazing. He didn't even ignite his lightsaber. With a gesture, 20 soldiers crumpled like paper, their armor imploding from invisible pressure. Then came the royal guards, Palpatine's elite Crimson Sentinels. They moved like shadows, Force pikes crackling with energy. They'd been trained to kill Force users. They died in seconds. Vader's lightsaber, crimson, blazing, perfect, carved through them like smoke. His movements were fluid, impossibly fast, enhanced by the dark side and unencumbered by mechanical joints. This was the duelist who destroyed the Jedi Order, now perfected. Then the temple's ceiling shattered. Lightning, blue-white and infinite, rained down from above. It struck Vader directly, enough voltage to atomize a dozen men. He stood there absorbing it, feeding on it. Through the broken ceiling descended Emperor Palpatine, hovering on a platform surrounded by guards. His face twisted with rage beneath his hood. You dare, the Emperor shrieked. I made you. I own you. Vader looked up, his yellow eyes meeting his master's. When he spoke, his voice was no longer filtered through machinery. It was smooth, confident, terrifying. You made me a slave, Vader said, but I have unmade your chains. He raised his hand, and for the first time in 23 years, attacked his master. The temple became a war zone. Vader launched himself at Palpatine with terrifying speed, his lightsaber a crimson blur. The Emperor blocked with his own twin blades, crimson meeting crimson in showers of sparks. They moved faster than eyes could follow, two masters of the dark side unleashed. Palpatine's face contorted with fury. You forget who taught you everything. Lightning erupted from his fingers, chains of pure agony that had killed Jedi masters. Vader caught the lightning in his bare hands. No suit to short-circuit. No damaged flesh to burn. His restored body channeled the energy, absorbing it, feeding on it. He redirected the blast back at his master with twice the force. Palpatine screamed and dodged, his platform exploding into shrapnel. Impossible, the Emperor shrieked. But it wasn't impossible. This was Vader's true potential, the Chosen One's power, amplified by decades of hatred and pain, finally unleashed through a perfect vessel. They clashed again, their lightsabers carving through ancient stone. Palpatine fought with vicious cunning, using every dirty trick he'd accumulated over a century. Force drain, Sith sorcery, attacks that targeted the mind rather than the body. Vader met each assault with raw, overwhelming power. You kept me weak, Vader roared, his voice shaking the temple. You lied about Padme. You chained me to that suit to control me. He struck with fury, driving Palpatine backward. Each blow cracked the stone beneath them. You were nothing before me. Palpatine snarled back, his yellow eyes blazing. A whining child playing at heroism. I gave you purpose. You gave me slavery. Vader thrust out both hands, and the Force itself screamed. A telekinetic wave hit Palpatine like a collapsing star. The Emperor was hurled backward, smashing through 3 stone pillars before stopping. Slowly, Palpatine rose, blood trickling from his mouth. For the first time in decades, he looked worried. This wasn't the broken, obedient Vader he'd controlled. This was something else. Something that might actually defeat him. "So be it," Palpatine hissed. "If you will not serve, you will die." The Emperor raised both hands, and the sky itself turned black. A Force storm, the ultimate dark side technique, began forming above Exegol. And far above the planet, a lone X-Wing dropped out of hyperspace. Luke Skywalker had arrived. Luke's X-Wing screamed through Exegol's crimson storms, R2-D2 beeping frantically at the sensor readings. The Force had called him here, urgent, desperate visions of his father in agony. But what Luke found was worse than agony. It was power. He landed near the collapsing temple, just as a shockwave of dark side energy exploded outward, flattening everything in a kilometer radius. Luke stumbled from his cockpit, shielding himself with the Force. Through the smoke and lightning, he saw them. The Emperor, unleashing destruction like a living god. And another figure, young, powerful, eyes burning yellow, matching him blow for blow. "Father?" Luke whispered. Vader sensed him immediately. Their connection blazed across the Force like a live wire. For one heartbeat, the restored Dark Lord's yellow eyes met Luke's blue ones. Recognition. Shock. And something else, pain. "Luke," Vader breathed, his voice unfiltered and human. "You shouldn't be here." Palpatine's cackling laughter split the air. "How touching. The family reunion I've waited for." Lightning arced from his hands toward Luke. Vader moved faster than thought, intercepting the blast. The lightning struck him full force, but he held firm, protecting his son. "Run, Luke," Vader commanded. "This isn't your fight." But Luke ignited his green lightsaber and stepped forward instead. "I came to save you." "I don't need saving," Vader roared, his power flaring. "I need revenge." Luke stared at the man before him. This was his father, alive, healed, restored. The body that had burned on Mustafar was whole again. But the darkness was worse than before. Concentrated. Perfected. "You're still Anakin Skywalker," Luke pleaded. "You can come back to the light." Anakin died screaming on a lava riverbank. Vader snarled. "I am what rose from his ashes." Palpatine laughed harder, feeding on the discord. "Yes, boy. Tell him. Tell him there's no redemption for monsters like us." Luke felt torn between them, the Emperor he'd sworn to destroy, and the father he'd sworn to save. Both were drowning in darkness. Both were beyond saving. Unless Luke made his choice. He deactivated his lightsaber and threw it aside. "Then kill me," Luke said quietly. "Both of you. If there's no light left, prove it." Vader froze. And in that moment of hesitation, everything changed. Silence fell across the ruined temple. Luke stood unarmed, defenseless, between the 2 most powerful dark side users in the galaxy. His blue eyes held no fear, only hope. Desperate, fragile hope. "This is your moment, Father," Luke said softly. "The Emperor kept you broken and weak for decades. Now you're free. Strong. But what will you do with that strength?" Vader's yellow eyes flickered. His lightsaber trembled in his hand. Palpatine's voice dripped with poison. "Kill him, my apprentice. Prove your loyalty. Embrace what you truly are, a Lord of the Sith, unbound and glorious. Or," Luke continued, "choose the light. Choose family. Choose redemption." Vader stared at his son. This young man who'd risked everything, faced the Empire's full might, refused to give up on a father he'd never known. Padme's son. His son. Memories flooded back. Not the dark ones Vader clung to, but older ones. Brighter ones. Shmi's gentle hands. Padme's smile. Obi-Wan's teachings about compassion and selflessness. "I have brought peace to my new empire. You've brought darkness and death." Padme's final words on Mustafar. She died because of his choices. Because he'd chosen power over love. And now, history was repeating itself. "I killed your mother," Vader said, his voice breaking. "I slaughtered children. I hunted Jedi across the galaxy. I've committed atrocities beyond counting." He looked at his restored hands, hands that had choked the life from innocence. "How can someone like me deserve redemption?" "You can't earn it," Luke replied. "You can only choose it." Palpatine shrieked, "Enough!" The Force storm above them intensified, reality itself beginning to tear. "If you won't kill him, I will destroy you both." Lightning fell like rain. But Vader moved first. He grabbed Luke, shielding him with his body, this perfect, regenerated body, and took the Emperor's assault head-on. Pain ripped through him, but he held firm. For his son. For the light. "Luke," Vader gasped through the agony. "I can't do this alone." Luke placed his hand on his father's shoulder. Their connection blazed, light meeting darkness, love battling hate. The Force itself responded, swirling around them like a storm of pure energy. Together, they turned to face the Emperor. And Palpatine, for the first time in his long life, felt fear. The final battle was apocalyptic. Vader and Luke fought as one, two Skywalkers bound by blood and the Force, their lightsabers moving in perfect synchronization. Luke channeled the light while Vader wielded the dark, creating a balance that shook the foundations of Exegol. Palpatine threw everything at them. Force lightning, Sith sorcery, the accumulated power of 1,000 years of Sith knowledge. The temple crumbled around them, reality itself warping under the strain. But he couldn't overcome them. "This is impossible," the Emperor screamed. "I am the dark side incarnate. I cannot fall to." Vader's lightsaber pierced his chest. Luke's followed a heartbeat later. Palpatine's yellow eyes went wide. He looked down at the blades protruding from his body, then up at the two Skywalkers. You haven't won," he gurgled. "I have contingencies." "Not anymore," Vader said coldly. He channeled every ounce of dark side power through his restored body and into the Emperor. Palpatine screamed as his own darkness consumed him from within. His flesh withered, cracked, disintegrated. In seconds, Emperor Palpatine was nothing but ash scattered on black stone. The Force storm above Exegol collapsed. Silence fell. Luke and Vader stood alone in the ruins. "It's over," Luke said, exhausted. "The Emperor is dead. You're free." But Vader didn't respond. He stared at his hands, still powerful, still brimming with dark side energy. The yellow in his eyes hadn't faded. The rage hadn't disappeared. He was healed, restored, perfect, but still Sith. "Luke," Vader said slowly, "I feel everything. The dark side is stronger than ever. And now, without the suit limiting me." He looked at his son. "What if I can't come back? What if this power consumes me again?" Luke gripped his father's shoulder firmly. "Then we face it together. One day at a time." Vader nodded slowly. Together, they walked from the ruined temple toward Luke's X-Wing. The battle was won. Palpatine was dead. The Empire would soon fall. But the galaxy didn't know what was coming. A reborn Anakin Skywalker, possessing the dark side's full might, the chosen one's raw potential, and a body that could channel both without limit. Was he redeemed hero, or the next great threat? As their ship lifted off from Exegol, Vader stared at the stars. For the first time in decades, he could breathe freely, move without pain, feel without mechanical filters. But the question remained, what happens when you give ultimate power to someone who's lived in darkness for 23 years, and tell them they're free? The galaxy was about to find out.